Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline Hewitt. I'm the presenter for today's show. Today's show is the Energy Show and it's with Leslie Zehr. This is episode 3. Leslie is a mystic. She's a sacred arts teacher. She's an author. She's a podcaster extraordinaire with over 30 years experience. She's a co-director for the Sacred Dance Guild. She's an astrologer. She's the author of 2 books, and she's actually writing her 3rd right now as we speak. She runs courses through her online platform on Sacred Universal Dance Temple, and she's currently working on her 3rd book. So we're going to find out more about Leslie Zehr. Without further ado, let's bring in Leslie. Hello.
Hi, Caroline. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
It's wonderful to be with you, Leslie. When I read about your background, I was excited to hear what you were going to share with us, and actually what you've been doing. Sacred dance, that's one of my things.
So it was meant to be.
Absolutely. You know, when I read your background, I thought, oh, I'm so glad that I'm doing this show. So Leslie, for our viewers on USA Global TV and Radio, globally, we have people joining us on the live show and on the replay. And so there'll be new people coming to join us, and there will be our regular loyal viewers. And so I would like you to share with people who you are, what you do, and how they can reach out to you, how they can actually contact you.
Sure. So my name is Leslie Zehr, and as Caroline said, I am an author, a sacred dance mentor, sacred arts mentor, podcaster, many things. And my main thing really is sacred dance. And the type of sacred dance I do is very much connected to the ancient Egyptian wisdom. I live in Egypt, and I've lived here for almost 40 years. And when I came, it was really something that unfolded, this dance form that I teach, that I've written about, called the Alchemy of Dance. It's really something that unfolded after visiting Hathor's temple in Upper Egypt. So I do feel like it was a calling for me. I feel as though I returned to Egypt, that this wasn't the first time I had been here, but that this is where I need to be, and it is where I need to be. And so really all of the work that I do is rooted in the ancient Egyptian wisdom and traditions. So that's mainly what I'm doing. I teach all kinds of sacred arts. You mentioned I have 2 books. The Alchemy of Dance is one of them, and that's on sacred dance. And then the other one is the Alchemia Remedies, which are flower and sacred site remedies, also something that I developed in Egypt through the guidance of Hathor as well. Hathor is the ancient earth goddess, the ancient mother, divine feminine goddess. So she's my guide, and she's the one that really has pointed me in the right direction. And I feel she's the one that called me back to Egypt. So all things Hat-Hor, yes.
Amazing, amazing. So, how can people reach you and connect with you in terms of contacting you before we launch into
Sure.
more about what you do?
So I have universaldancer.com is my website, also lesliezehr.com. And I have a school, which is the Universal Dancer Temple of the Sacred Arts. And that's a Thinkific platform. So it's universaldancer.thinkific.com. I believe that one of those two links takes you directly. I think one of them takes you here, which is mainly about my podcast. And then the other one takes you to my school, which is where I teach the sacred arts. I teach sacred dance, and I do have a practitioner's course for the Alchemia Remedies and other things, a membership. So there's a lot there on that platform.
Wow, I'm blown away. And let's just dive straight in, Leslie. Tell us more about sacred dance. It's one of my things anyway. I love to sacred dance, and I love to work through and dance through the chakras. And so I would love to hear how you work with sacred dance, what you do, and what made you get into it.
Well, I have a dance background. My mother is an actress, singer, so I kind of grew up in the theater. So I was actually a competitive ice skater, not something you do in Egypt. But as a child, I was a competitive ice skater. And then after that, I really went into dance and theater. When I came to Egypt, was first a mother, so I was very much working with the divine feminine and with women in that arena. And then later on, as I said, when I went to Dendara Temple, to Hathor's temple, this whole just there was just a download, and that's exactly how it came, as a download. So when I would dance, I actually would dance with a notebook in my hand because things were just downloading, and I would just write them all down so that I wouldn't forget something. So it really was an initiation or an attunement that attuned me to this dance. I had never done sacred dance before that. As I said, it was always, I did tap, jazz, ballet, all kinds of dance. I didn't know anything about sacred dance. So when this initiation happened, that was in 2002, I really didn't understand what was happening, but I trusted that whatever was happening was what needed to happen, and that I needed to work on this. I needed to preserve this. I needed to write it down. And then I started teaching actually right away, which was kind of interesting. But really, for me, teaching is the way I learn, because I explain something and then people can ask me questions. So it allows me to sort of go beyond my own mind of what I think are the questions that I would ask when someone else asks me a question. So I feel that teaching really is the way that I expand. And then it just continued to develop. It expanded, and there were more downloads. And as I said, it went into other areas of the remedies and hands-on healing and all kinds of different things. But it really started with that download. And for me, sacred dance is a spiritual practice. As you mentioned, I'm now writing a book called Dance as a Spiritual Practice. That's the course, that's the foundation course that I teach. And what I realized was that the alchemy of dance is actually the second part. The dance as a spiritual practice is the first piece where we build that foundation and we create a spiritual practice with movement. And it's very simple. And to me, sacred dance, there are many forms of sacred dance, but for me, it really is a spiritual practice. So It is my spiritual practice, because when I dance, I go into that place of no mind and I'm completely connected. So that was what I wanted to share. And that's what I felt this download was about, was to create a kind of a, not a system, but a way in for other people. If I could communicate that to other women, then they could also find their way in. So that's really what the book was about, what the courses I teach are about. So that's how it all began.
I love it, because I'm very much a sacred dancer, working through, dancing through the chakras, and I feel absolutely orgasmic, and to such a point that when the world changed and we were in lockdowns, I was still doing dancing through the chakras online. And there were musicians there that had got the tech right. And I was in my living room, sort of literally groaning and moaning with ecstasy, just feeling
Yes.
really, really amazing. So I so endorse what you're sharing. Because when I tell people that I like to dance, and if there's things that are difficult and challenging and I get a bit stuck, I put on something that makes me feel freer, and I dance and I feel different.
Absolutely.
You talked about downloads, Leslie, and I know what you mean by that, but many of our viewers might not know what you mean by a download. So please, can you share with our audience, especially if they're not familiar with that term, what you mean by the term download?
A download really is when information comes in that you don't have any prior knowledge to. So for me, yes, I had danced, but I had never done this kind of dance. And I believe I'm kind of the sacred space police. I'm a big believer in sacred space and how important that is in order to allow the right kind of energies to come in. So for me, when I get into that place, first of all, in a sacred space, but then you kind of go into an altered state of consciousness with the movement and with the dance. And in that altered state of consciousness, you are able to receive. And with the dance that I do, the very first thing that we do is an exercise called becoming the vessel. Because to me, that's what spirituality is that we become the vessel and then the divine moves through us. So when the divine moves through us, it's going to be different for each person. It's going to be whatever it is that you need to receive, or maybe it's messages. For me, when I got into that altered state of consciousness, it was this information that I knew absolutely nothing about. And that's why I say it's a download. It came in complete. It came in with explanation. And I was also instructed to verify everything that came in. So I did that. When I would get information, then I would go, and this was 2002. So it wasn't that easy. Maybe we had the internet, I don't even remember, but even if we did, it was still kind of early days. So a lot of it was talking to people, or people would call me and they would say, do you know that when you do this, this is what happens? And I would say, well, actually, I do know that. I just got that information, but I didn't know why or didn't know how. So they kind of gave me the references. So the references were just, the verification was coming to me. All I had to do was create that opening and create that intention, because I'm not the kind of person that can just say, oh, well, this downloaded today and here it is, and take it and believe it. I need some kind of a backup. I need some kind of verification or some connection to something else that's more concrete in this world. And so I made that intention, and that's absolutely what happened. And then one thing after another was verified through some kind of external. So once that started happening, then I did trust more that what was coming through was really important. But before I wrote the book, I tried to go and find actual places, resources for these things. But over the years, this is what's happened. And so it really has evolved, and it's become kind of more concrete as time goes on, because I get more information to verify or more confirmation about the information that I've gotten. So for me, when I say download, I really mean that it came down complete. It didn't come down as an idea, and then I went and I thought about it. There was no thinking involved at all. It was a knowing. It was like someone was whispering in my ear and said, you do this, this movement is related to that, that happens with that, and just like I was being given instructions, but complete instructions. So it's a knowing. I think a download comes as a knowing that you know this information and you don't necessarily know where it comes from. And it may be information that is not in your field. So how would you know? You could say, yeah, it's my mind making it up, but I don't know these things. So I must be tapping into something. And I do think that first step is that becoming the vessel, which is really kind of the whole point of the dance. So the dance created or was created by what it was trying to teach. So I think I had that experience, and I had it over a period of time because there was a lot of information, a lot of dancing. A lot of dancing happened, which was great, to create this. And it really was my passion. I was like obsessed. Every time people left the house, then I put the music on and I was dancing because I knew I was getting more and more and more. So that's what I mean by a download, is that I think it's that the information comes in complete and without prior knowledge to what it might be.
That's a beautiful explanation. Thank you, Leslie. And I'm sure that our viewers will find that explanation so encompassing, because on some level, people do know things. They have an inner knowing that it doesn't come from somewhere. So it's a beautiful way that you've described a download. And certainly in the spiritual community, we use that word quite often, but in the everyday, people have not heard the term. But you've mentioned dance quite a few times. I know how I like to dance, and I've done ecstatic dancing and 5 rhythm dancing and moving through the chakras in terms of the different vibration, different music. Tell us about what you mean by dance, and because some people would be afraid of dancing. Some people say, oh, I can't move, I'm too stiff, or I've got 2 left feet. So tell our viewers what you mean by dancing so they understand, because some people will feel uncomfortable even with the word dance.
I think that's true. Sadly, that's true. So I would say it's more movement. To me, dance is when you're moving to music. That's kind of the way I define dance. And the reason I say that, because we can move without music and it can still be a spiritual practice. But in the practice that I'm doing, we're using the music as the guide. So that's why I think that's why I would describe it as movement to music. Now, the movements can be very simple. One of the basic movements that we start with is just rocking from side to side. And that movement, and in dance as a spiritual practice, most of the movements are really simple. Because by just rocking from side to side, you're creating this balance. You actually will find your absolute center, and you can align to the music without it being something complicated. To me, that rocking from side to side in and of itself is dance. And I encourage people who don't think that they're dancers to just put on a piece of music and rock from side to side in time to the music. This alignment of you with the music and rocking, which is a very relaxing thing to do, that in and of itself could be your spiritual practice. So for anyone who's afraid or doesn't think that they're a dancer, that's where I would begin. And the other thing is that I think that the concept of dance, unfortunately, especially in Western society, has been made something professional. Like if you didn't take dance classes, then you're not a dancer. Or if somebody told you you're not a dancer, then you believe them. But all children dance. You put on music and children will always dance. So we're all dancers. And that's kind of what we want to get back to. We want to get back to that place of being uninhibited, of moving the body, and of being able to align to something. And as I said, I consider the music the guide. And if we're dancing as a group, then we're all following the same guide. And also, to me, that's an analogy for the divine, because we hear the call, we hear the music, and we follow to it. We follow it wherever it's going to take us. And so that's kind of that dance of co-creation, is you move, and then the music moves in another way. And then how are you going to move to that? Or what does that inspire you to do? And I think that's what life is, that we hear this music and we make these subtle movements, and we move one way and then we move the other way. So I think for me, sacred dance is a practice for us to practice co-creation. Because unfortunately, and co-creation with the divine, unfortunately, I think in modern times, we don't have so many ways to practice co-creation. We often say co-creation, okay, if two people get together, we're co-creating this podcast. We are, but I'm talking about a higher level. I'm talking about that co-creation with the divine, that hearing a call, following that call, where does it take me, not knowing what comes next, just following the music. And I think it's important to practice that, so that in life, when we hear the call, when we see road signs, we begin to know how to follow and how to do that dance of life. And that's another reason I call it sacred dance, is because I think it is related to that bigger dance, to that co-creative dance with the divine.
It so is, Leslie. I would totally endorse what you're saying there, because dance, actually, the movement is in the second chakra. And the second chakra is water. It's the element is flow. And so when you're in the flow and in your movement, you are then moving towards things that you desire, which is where we co-create. And that's why children, very young children, are wiggling and boogieing, because that's the developmental stage from 6 to 18. So I totally agree with what you're saying. It's beautiful the way that you've actually meandered it round, and because it is a dance of life. We can either be here,
Yes.
or we can be in our hearts and co-creating through our movement and our practice. So it's beautiful.
And I think also we know now, with all the research that's being done on trauma, how important embodiment is. And dance is such a simple form of embodiment. Again, put on the music and just move to the music, and you will be absolutely amazed at how quickly. And also, the dance that I teach, we do barefoot, and it's very much about really connecting to the ground, about grounding. And that is so important, just in a healing aspect. Again, just stand barefoot, put the music on, rock from side to side. And that is so healing and embodying and as you said, we're so much in our heads that this is what's causing anxiety and illness and all of that. So this is just a simple practice that anybody can do. And again, you don't have to be a dancer. Just and enjoy the music. I think that's the other part of why I include music as part of the dance is that it's enjoyable. Just find something you like and it doesn't matter what it is.
What kind of music would you suggest for the dance?
I use all kinds of music. And to me, music is incredibly important. I spend a lot of time listening to a lot of music. And that's the thing. Like I might hear a certain piece of music and that's it. Like I have to move. And my body is moving. Even if you're sitting in a chair, if you're listening to music. So that's the other thing. That this kind of dance, even if for some reason you're immobilized, that you had an injury, whatever, you can do it seated in a chair. And it doesn't matter. Your muscles are still responding. You can just close your eyes and feel your body moving, and your muscles will be moving. They will be responding. They've done research on this. So your body dances, even if you're sitting. So I always think you should use music that you really like because it brings that element of joy in. In the Alchemy of Dance, we're working with the elements. So I would use different types of music to represent different elements. I think the drums are important. I use a lot of Middle Eastern music just because it's heavy on the drums, and drums allow you to discharge energy. So, but then something else that's more air would probably have a lot of violins in it. So again, it's about playing, being playful, and just exploring. And I really think you'll find your way through if you just allow yourself to. If you just play, just put music on that you like, and then move and see where it takes you. And probably then it will take you to something else, or a different kind of music will come in. But if something really hits you, then move to it, because that's important. Those things that move you, and passion, that's the sacred fire, whatever stirs you. It's important to really look at that.
When I was young, it was Dancing Queen. I heard Dancing Queen and that was it. I was the queen on the floor.
Yep.
And I couldn't help myself. And there were
Exactly.
just certain songs that were of the time, because of, when I was growing up, that were still statements today,
Yes.
that are played today. Mamma Mia is just one of those songs, and Dancing Queen, it never went away, and Grease. And those were my go-tos, and really they're still there. And so I'm still circulating on the dance floor in my living room or wherever I am in the office, dancing with my headset on. So I totally
Yes.
endorse what you're saying about dancing, because it's freeing and it makes you shift from a state of anxiety, depression, stress, and it can literally uplift you, make you feel amazing. Leslie,
And very quickly.
this has been such a fascinating experience. We're in the last 5 minutes of our show. Can you believe it? So, Leslie, I do want you to share with our viewers a little bit about the book that you're working on currently.
The book I'm working on now is called Dance as a Spiritual Practice, which is the course that I teach. And that's basically what it is I've just taken these years of teaching this course, and it's an online course, but it's a foundation course. And I think it's a really good course to use even before you do, even if you want to go do 5 rhythms or any other type of dance, this is a good foundation course. So what I've done is I've basically taken the material from the course, but then what I wanted to do was to expand on it. When you're teaching a course, and originally I taught this as a live course, an in-person course, and it was like a 2 or 3 hour workshop. And what I wanted to do again was to give references. So if I'm talking about how a certain movement works in your body, or what I just said about music and about grounding and about how, how related to trauma and embodiment and all of that, what I can do with the book is I can expand on that and I can give references to what I'm talking about. In a workshop, it gets very wordy if you keep giving all these references and giving more and more information to kind of back up what you're saying. So this is why I wanted to write a book that was fuller. In the book, there is also the process of dance as a spiritual practice. But I wanted to expand on that. I wanted to give more references. And there's a lot of beautiful books out there that support different aspects of what I'm talking about. So that's really why I'm writing this book, is just to kind of expand on the material that I'm presenting in the course. So it's an expansion of the course. It's fuller, I think. And as I said, I think to do that in a live course is difficult because it becomes too much lecture and not enough movement, and you want to create a balance between experience and information. So in a book, you're reading. Even if you got up to do some kind of movement, you're still sitting and you're reading information. And it can also be used as a reference. I think the ideal thing would be to have do the book with the course, so that you would be able to go through the experiences, and then you'd also have more information to make it a fuller experience.
Thank you, Leslie. Wow, this time has gone so quickly. I've had such fun.
Me too.
You're talking about my hot topic here. We are in our final couple of minutes of the show. So if you can share with our viewers just a quick, how can they reach you? Phone number, social media, and where can they buy your books from?
As I mentioned earlier, the platform where I have my classes, Temple of the Sacred Arts, is linked to the lesliezehr.com website address. So you can find me there. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at the.universaldancer. I'm on YouTube as The Universal Dancer with no dot, and that's where you can find my podcast, which is the Universal Dancer podcast. And I'm on Facebook. We have a group, a community, the Universal Dancer community, for those people who are interested in sacred dance. You can join us there. And also as Leslie Zehr, I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, Leslie Zehr, at Leslie Zehr also. And I think that's about it for social media, but those either Facebook and I have an author's page also on Facebook. But really, if you're interested in sacred dance, join us in the community, because there's a lot of other people that are sacred dancers, so it's nice. And if you're interested in sacred dance, the podcast, this is my third year, so I've been interviewing different people in the world of sacred dance. That was my impetus for starting the podcast, was that the form that I created was downloaded. And as I said, I created it here in Egypt, so I didn't have contact with I didn't know 5 rhythms. I didn't know all these other dance forms. And I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand what was out there. Mine was created in a vacuum, which I appreciate. But at the same time, I was curious about the thread that might be running through all of these different sacred dance forms. So that's why I created the podcast. So
Well,
if
Leslie,
sacred dance interests you.
Leslie, we have run out of time.
Okay.
It has been such a packed show. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your skills, and sharing how dance can be open to everyone and anyone, even if you think you've got two left feet. Leslie's
Absolutely.
showing us that it's possible. Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. It has been extraordinary. Thank you. And I'm
Thank
sure our
you.
viewers have gained so much insight into your work. And I look forward to seeing you again. My name is Caroline Heward. I've been your host and presenter for today's show, which is the Energy Show. You've been listening to Leslie Zehr, and I also want to just give you a little bit about me. I'm the Harley Street stress expert, and I help people bust your stress. And one of my things is dance, because that's something that really, really takes you into a different place. You can reach me on No More Stress at live.co.uk, or you can call me +44 if you're international, 07523 120 189. And I look forward to offering you a free consultation, and I look forward to busting your stress. And now it's over to our sponsors. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week.
This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com. and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com, ZaneCarruth.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.